Live from Belgium, welcome race fans one and all back to Green Flight TV. This afternoon, we get set to kick off yet another round of Wednesday night racing action, this time from Circuit Zolder, a track that we have not seen for the last couple of seasons or so, not since the late model stocks came out here in their second ever season. This time, Austin, we get set to roll on out in SRF Spec Racer Ford action. And I tell you what, this track, not a track that's meant for these cars. There's two things they don't like: sharp direction changes and elevation change. And as you can see for the track map, there's a lot of both this afternoon.
Yeah, that either means one of two things, honestly. Whenever I'm looking at a race on iRacing, whenever it's a car that just does not match up with the track type, it's either going to be an absolute crap show, or it's going to be one of the most fantastic races you've ever seen on iRacing. And I think it could be a little bit of a mixture of both. We could see some chaos like we've seen in the past in Beer League history, but I don't know, man. I feel like this has the makings of a banger of a race for the lead.
It's going to be a wild race indeed. We are, of course, are walking out from the race, of course, down at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, where Kyle Blevins took away the points lead with that one. Alex Coffer picked up a solid number 2 spot this afternoon. Augustino with third. Of course, no changes in position since only one race has been completed so far this season, but I think after today, we'll really start to see who the big title contenders are going to be over the course of this championship. I think the real trend that we could glean from Montreal is how the team's championship is going to line up.
I feel like it's hard to take anything, right? I mean, it's just so early in the season. Everybody's getting used to the new car. We've only had, the one race. Not a lot of beer tally on the board either. So I don't know. I just feel like there's still so much time left in this season. I don't think we've had enough time for any trends to really settle out.
Babs Bug Boys right now with a 1-2 finish are in the head of the team's championship points lead for now. And then, of course, it's an 8-point battle right now between 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So, unsurprisingly, a lot of these championships are still close, and that's going to be something to keep an eye out for over the course of the afternoon. But right now, qualifying is currently underway with just about everybody running out there on the racetrack trying to get themselves in with some decent lap times. Austin, Jake Kasic's proven to be a good driver in the past. When he gets down to the front stretch, what do you say we take a ride aboard with him and he can take us for a lap around Zolder here?
I think it's a pretty good idea here. Jake Kasic has kind of solidified himself as one of the faster guys pretty consistently in the league. Doesn't always get the finish that I feel like he deserves at the end of the day, but man, Jake Kasich, a guy that I feel like should have a good couple of wins under the bag so far. Got a good chunk less than I feel like he should, but he's going to bring us down to the turn number 1 on this qualifying lap right now. Try to set a halfway decent time. Currently P2 on the board, but only 4 lap times put out there, and he's already, run wide. So not too much time into the lap, and already going to have to regroup, reset, run an entire lap around this place to be able to lay down another attempt here on the next lap.
And of course, you get bumped back to Tyler Augustino right now in a very similar boat. In fact, he just overtook, not overtook, sorry. He's a little ways behind Jake Kasich on the racetrack. In fact, there is Kasich, first car up the road. But that turn 1, right, we've talked about it the last time we were out here. It's an extremely deceptive corner. It's got such a fast entry that it tightens up so much, so quick. These curbs here on that chicane are going to be a big problem, especially with how easy it is to vault yourself over them. You get away with that in the late model stocks, not in the Spec Racer Fords.
I don't know how we're going to go through some of these areas whenever we're 2 wide, maybe even 3 wide in some areas, especially on the initial start of the heat race and the main event with all 40 plus cars out there at the same time. I feel like that's a 1x for Tyler Augustino, so that might have invalidated the lap there, but we'll just have to wait and see. Currently 5th on the leaderboards. A couple more people have started to lay down some lap times. Alex Crawford currently with the benchmark time of a 1:42.665. So Augustino going to have to pick up some time on this lap. If he didn't get that 1x a little bit earlier, skating a little bit wide into the grass, you got a little bit of wiggle room, but not too much on the exit of these things. Coming down into the chicane at the end of the lap, just try not to extend too much, but trying to get a good run down this straightaway to lay down a good lap time. And does he lay one down?
I don't think he will. I think he got that off-track 1X like you were alluding to earlier. But you do have some drivers that are looking to put down laps. Among those is Alexander Bueller right now coming across the start-finish line to put down his first lap of the day. And that'll put him up into the number 9 spot. So not a bad run at all for Bueller there for his first outing. What about Tyler Vietnam making a move? He's getting set to cross the line, and at the stripe for him, only 22nd out of 23 right now. You do have, some drivers that, of course, are trying to make themselves in with some good runs. And among those, here's a new driver, Punty Nador, making his first start within the beer league this afternoon.
Always good to see some new faces out in the beer league. Obviously, a new season kind of provides some opportunity for some new guys to come out here and show their faces. So the 423 now taking up a spot on the roster here in the beer league on Wednesday nights. Good to see him. Good to have him along here at Zolder this week for his first qualifying session. Gonna have to pay extra attention to him throughout the day, see how his debut race goes.
So drivers are going to continue on to make themselves in with some good runs here this afternoon. And I have a feeling this is going to be a bit of an interesting one here to see how all of this is going to pan out this afternoon. Of course, you still got a lot of times yet to be sorted. Nador right now on his second lap. So he'll get set to come across the start-finish line this next time by. And what will this time be for the 423 at the stripe as he'll cross the line on his latest attempt? It'll be no time lost. So had his first and second laps invalidated. Right now, drivers on either their third or their fourth at this point in time. Again, that target to beat, about a 142.6. So a tough order, especially since separated top to bottom throughout this entire field. You're already looking at 4 seconds on the up to speed times, and then 6.3 if you want to count John Combs at the tail of the field in that as well.
There's a lot of traffic out on the racetrack too right now, and in qualifying, typically not a great thing. Maybe these things for the draft matters, but I feel like at a racetrack like Zolder, yeah, there's some straightaways, some pretty long, narrow areas on this racetrack. But I just feel like I would rather have the clean air down the big sweeping corners that we've got here to be able to get through, lay down a fast lap time. I'm not too privy on how much the draft matters in these things. We're never quite sure whenever we switch the seasons in the beer league, but we learn as we go. A couple more guys still laying down lap times about halfway through the qualifying session so far. Still a ways to go for these guys, still towards the back that haven't laid down a lap time. Like I said, this is a pretty narrow racetrack, and there's a lot of chicanes here, man. It's pretty difficult. You got to get the car woed up quite a bit, get that thing turned one way, rotate it the opposite. Don't get on the gas too early, don't push it wide. Don't take out a competitor through all that as well. So it can be difficult to get around here, and still about 10 guys out there have not been able to lay down a lap time.
Shane Cameron, you're right on board with him as he works down the back straightaway underneath the Champions Bridge. Setting himself up for the final corner this time around. He'll look to cross the line this time through. Eagerness sits 21st out of 40. And when he crosses the stripe, it will be an improvement on the time, but not on the position. Less, though, than 1/100th of a second off of Darren Bai up there in the top 20. Still got about, by my count, 9 cars that have not put down lap times yet. Some of them are, of course, predictable members like Giovanni Romano that has not put down a time. Others are still making efforts. Of course, you see Harrison out there on the racetrack. He's working his way around to the 751. And then Blake Gambrell running his 79 car on his third lap. And that's about to be his fourth because he just lost it.
That's going to cut a little bit into Gambrell's time to be able to put down a lap, but still 10 minutes left, so plenty of time for him to get something. But, well, you are halfway done and you haven't been able to put in one. I guess the odds technically wouldn't be in your favor at that point, but we'll just have to wait and see. At some point, you just put down a banker lap time just to get yourself on the board somewhere in the top 30 if you possibly can. This is one thing you kind of want to avoid. We saw two guys starting to fight on their qualifying laps. If you can do... If you can, anything possible, just avoid battling on that qualifying lap, man. And that's what I was saying earlier. I don't know if that draft down the straightaways is worth being stuck behind somebody in some of the narrower parts of this racetrack. I just feel like there's a lot of tough, narrow sections that makes it difficult to pass. And, well, in a qualifying session, that does not bode well.
Barrett Morton coming around to the final corner, coming to the close of lap number 4.
Hunty Nader. Hunty Nader is at the top of the scoring pylon.
Oh, wow, no kidding. When did this happen?
Okay, we might have a new competitor here in the beer league.
That was just a lap ago. Well, talk about absolutely stomping on Crawford's time, up by a quarter of a second just about.
Uh-oh, Crawford might have some competition. Romano, they might be quaking in their boots. Hunty Nader's coming at him.
Crawford takes it right back by a 10th. 1:42.04. The 141 looking like it is a range that can be hit today.
Definitely possible, and also the track could be cooling. We are getting, we're getting further into the day, but it's just so overcast out. I just don't feel like the air temp is actually not really rising. It's a consistent 66 all throughout the day today. You see it right there. Even at the start of the session, it was 66. Track temp also sitting there as well. So we're just not really going to see much change. If they're hitting 132 or 142 O's right now, they'll definitely be able to hit 141s, especially if we get further into a fuel run and they get a little bit lighter load in these things. I believe you might be able to run a little bit quicker. This could be a matter of run that gas tank out as much as possible through the entire qualifying session, and your last lap or two might be your 2 quickest.
And again, it is worth noting that there is no rain enabled with the SCCA Spec Racer Ford.
Oh, sad. So sad.
Well, yet. There's always the future. And they're adding more cars to that every update as well. So we'll see how this
I'm not hating on them. It's just unfortunate that we got this car now whenever we don't have the rain with it yet.
I mean, to be fair, they're hard enough to drive in the dry as it is.
Maybe a fair point, but you see, I tend to, kind of stick on the side of Team Chaos whenever I commentate a league called the Beer League. I like the chaotic nature.
We still need to figure out our broadcaster's pick as well. They're still waiting on us for that.
Oh, is that week 5?
6 this time around.
6.
Yeah, 1 week before they conveniently take a 1-week vacation. So I think they're preparing for it this time around.
These things aren't too fast. These things, Martinsville, no cautions.
I still say, I'm still down for Le Mans, no chicanes, because, I mean, think about it, 4 wide down the Mulsanne straight in these things is going to be an insane sight, especially, there's room for it, especially if they end up
I know, it might be, I'm just saying, you say 4 wide, I'm saying 6.
Ooh, see, now you're thinking my language. I know you're not a big Le Mans fan, and I could get them for sports car races, but with these cars, think of the memes, my friend. Think of the memes that the Mulsanne could provide.
It's true, and I did just say I tend to lay on the side of Team Chaos, right? So
I'm completely abusing that statement right there, by the way.
Yeah, I did just kind of lay my own bet on that one. I can't really go back on my word. I trapped myself into a corner. So yeah, bring it on, Le Mans, no chicanes.
We'll make that decision, of course, closer to the date. There's options. There's plenty of options. The Nürburgring is still, and we're talking the Nordschleife. The Nürburgring Nordschleife is still on the table as well. In these cars, it'd be a nightmare.
Exactly. If this was a sports car class, I would love the Nürburgring.
I don't know. I mean, the Mazdas are pretty good for that place.
That'd be cool too.
Yeah, you got some good MX-5 racing.
Yeah,
these cars they would have coped with the elevation change all that well.
Yeah. I feel like the Mazdas have a little bit more durability to them. They can handle that track a little bit better with the close racing. These things.
Oh, I mean, the Mazdas are insane there. I mean, you're like power sliding through every corner. It is such a thrill.
Ooh. To be fair, I feel like these things feel like that in some ways. A lot of the time. Like you said, these things are very hard to drive, and it's been proven through this qualifying session. A lot of guys have been struggling. Still 5 guys without a lap time yet.
if you want a good challenge of time, what you need to do, Austin, you need to take a 60-car AI field, Nordschleife only, and then slap yourself in the full field of either MX-5s or Skip Barber F2000s. One of those two. I promise you, it is some of the most fun you can have racing against the AI on the surface. It is wild.
Give me something with fenders. Give me the Mazda.
You don't appreciate what a Skip Barber looks like when it's barrel rolling down.
Oh, I do, but I just don't like it whenever it's mine.
Fair enough. 4 minutes remaining in qualifying. So far, Nador has not really been able to contend against Coffert's time. The last lap of 148.2. Right now, about halfway through what is now the 7th lap of qualifying. The next lap could very well be his last one.
Oh, he got a little twitchy there. He hit the curb.
That might have been
a very strange way. I don't know quite how much you can cut that curve. I mean, these guys have been very, very aggressive through a couple of these chicanes.
I mean, we saw in the late model race, you can take actually an unreasonable amount. Oh boy. Well, there's a hit for Condi, but you can take a pretty unreasonable amount out of these curbs when you compare it to other tracks like Spa, like Canada, etc., etc. This track, I think this is one of the tracks where you can be the most aggressive over the curbs and not have too much fear out of getting the off-track 1X.
Yeah, I've been kind of on board with Punty on this lap, and I'm really seeing that. I mean, he's been abusing every single curb that he can. He's coming to the line right now. Going to see if he can lay down a good lap time. It's going to be about 0.5 of a second off of his previous best. So I think he's got one more go at it. Just 2.5 minutes left in qualifying. Can Punty Nader, in his first appearance in the beer league, bring home the pole, or is Coffert going to beat him out by that 1/10 of a second?
Well, the pole for the sprint. The main event, you have to finish in 12th to get that honor.
I consider the guy that qualifies the highest the pole sitter. If you finish 12th in the sprint, you're not the pole sitter.
But you're the inverse pole sitter.
Like, if you finish 12th in the heat race, you have the honor of bringing them to the green flag. You didn't, like, earn the pole, if that makes sense.
Well, it depends. Did you finish in 12th on purpose?
I mean, I guess that's fair. I just feel like that's a lot easier of a challenge.
I mean, I recall that being a tactic I think that some drivers did try to utilize throughout last season and the season before when they first introduced this, was they would, if they're running in like 10th or 11th, they would deliberately slow down a little bit to finish in 12th because, they're only sacrificing 2 points, and then they're at the head of the field for the start of the race. So it's a good trade-off.
I don't disagree with that. I feel like the guy that qualified the fastest is the guy that gets the pole award. He's the guy that earns it, right? I don't feel like you should be awarded, that title for finishing 12th. It's kind of pedantic, but, there's merit to it, I feel like.
Yeah. 1 minute to go, so all drivers are wrapping up their qualifying laps. Here comes Ryan Verhulst, setting himself up for a run down the front stretch to the line. And no improvement from Verhulst. Matthew Dupuis coming down the row. He might be the last car that gets a lap in, and he's going to be forced into pit road. Now the question is, does Campbell, along with the runner in front of him, Shane Cameron, do they have enough time to get to the line? I think they might just.
22 seconds. They're going into the last chicane. Both of them taking a run at it, not going down pit road like we've been seeing a lot of guys coming down this last time. 74-71. Cameron coming up to the line. Do they improve? Okay, well, that's not going to help you improve for sure. And I see no movement on the board, so the 71 didn't go anywhere either.
So that's going to take it to that then. We are finished with qualifying here from Belgium. We're going to take a rundown through the qualifying order for the sprint race, the 15-minute sprint race at that. Alex Coffert starts on the pole for Babs Bug Boys alongside Punty Nader in his seasonal debut. Tyler Augustino starts in third with Austin Tucker for Happy Holidays in fourth. Michael Derby starts in 5th. Chris Flams in 6th. Jake Kasich in 7th. Alex Klenk back in the number 8 spot. John Combs 9th. Bueller is in 10th. From there, it is Chris Bright, Eric Ronenberg, Tyler Carlson, and Josh Freed, Jason Lee, Michael Hopkins, Tom Bedole, Alex Albert, Darren Mai, Ron Wolf, Ben Williams, Keaton Crothers, Brooks Clayton, Jeremy Castro, Corey Barrett, Chris Hannigan, Ryan Verhulst, Shane Cameron, Justin Hall, Steve McClendon, Ryan Murphy, Aaron Thacker, Matthew Dupuis, Tanner Klein, Evan Campbell, Kyle Smith, Ethan Conley, Tyler Vietnam, Jordan Babcock, Ringo Harrison, Greg Beckman, Blake Gambrell, Carson Kaplan, Stephen Purcell, Mary Morton, Giovanni Romano, Adam Klein, and Adam Joseph Milhot closes out the field. So that's it then. Field is set. They're just going to grid on up, and then we get this show on the road from Belgium. It's not the very famed Belgian circuit that we're, of course, so used to seeing, but it is surprisingly a track that we have seen now in action, I think, more times than we've seen Spa and play. No, I'm wrong. We are now tied for Belgian appearances on the 2 racetracks for the service.
I think Zolder, excuse me, I think Zolder is going to be a fun one, man. I really like how these racetracks are very tight and narrow, punishing if you make a mistake. Those are my favorite types of racetracks, right? Any type of track that punishes you if you run it a little bit too wide. There's grass out there, there's dirt, there's dust, there's gravel. Something that slows you down, something that could hurt you, harm you, spin you out. And that's what a place like Zolder does. So I think the racing here is going to be tight all night long, and the heat race is going to be lit.
Green flag drops, and this field of 48 cars takes off on the mad scramble down to turn number 1. Cofford pulls on with the race lead as they work out of the first corner here. The whole field ducking out behind them, trying to, oh, there we go, right at the tail end. A couple of them spinning off into the gravel trap, just like we saw in the late model stock race. Most of the field makes it through, the back portion does not. And now it is again the Mad Penalty who can pick up the most spots coming down into these first few braking zones. Oh boy, whoa, a big mess. About 5 or 6 involved at the tail of the field.
I'm not too surprised to see a lot of mayhem in the early going. Like I said, this is a very, very tight, narrow racetrack. High difficulty, if I gotta say so myself. I mean, I really feel like this is one of the tougher places we go, and we're seeing it over the chicane. Tight, narrow place on the racetrack, and multiple drivers going around. A lot of contact through the narrow chicane. And, well, we got one more on the racetrack that the leaders are going through right now. Tyler Agostino from 2nd, off into the dirt, losing a place. Punsey Nader back into 2nd, more wrecking further behind.
One car stranded middle of the field. That's number 9, Brooks Clayton. Shane Cameron turned around to the head. That's going to collect a couple of them as they work their way down through the racetrack. Still got the back markers rolling through, but looking like the front runners have been able to relatively escape that mayhem unscathed. So they make that charge down the back stretch now and towards the final chicane. A couple of messy runs in the opening laps, but I don't think that's of any surprise at this point.
No, at a place like this, I'm not surprised. And it's still not done. We're not even done with the first lap. These guys are still going off through the kitty litter down in the last chicane, coming back to the front straightaway, losing some spots, having to get a slowdown penalty for cutting the course. More guys off the racetrack. Just looking at it, Ethan Condy, Ringo Harrison. I mean, my timing and scoring is lining up with people having incidents, having crashes, going off the racetrack. I mean, it's just over and over nonstop.
This was that bigger incident that we saw for the second problem. They were 3 wide, and Campbell just got stuck in the middle, and around they all went. Oh, 6 or 7
these things
off
front
the
ends.
racetrack. Tell you what,
The front ends just fly, man.
they did a good job on getting through that unscathed, all things considered. Well, and around goes Darren By.
Yeah, this is actually a little bit more carnage than I expected. But, you know, like I said, difficult racetrack, and these guys are proving it. But the top 2 coming down side by side into the chicane. Can they come out the other end unscathed? But these guys running the fastest lap times on the board. The 423's been just a little bit quicker in his first appearance. Trying to win the heat race here to side by side with Cofford. Coming through on the inside, but coming back to the left-handed kink here. Cofford edges back forward, but not able to get clear. What can Punchy Nader do back on the inside?
Nador, does he clear? Not quite. Cofford still remains 2 abreast with Nador. as they make that drive all the way down the front stretch and in towards the final chicane. Crawford continuing to hang on. Nador sweeps around, and finally he's going to take the spot on that number 423. Crawford forced to yield, and they'll be punting Nador to lead lap number 2. Another handful of them, by the way, going off deeper in the field. As I say that, Crawford's another move for the lead. This is really quickly just that massive melee we have behind. 3 cars going off at about the same place, but now Nador and Crawford side by side, and Nador on the defensive. Crawford can't find a way through.
These guys won't stop being side by side. I mean, they get like single file for half a second, and Crawford's like, I want to be back side by side just for another go at it. This time though, Crawford actually able to keep it down there for a while, able to hold it, but maybe a little bit too narrow through that section, and loses out to the 423 Puntinator back to the race lead. But Crawford back in the draft, in the slipstream, easily pulling back out. He didn't have as good of a run off the corner, but able to pull back out, make the dive into the chicane.
Oh boy!
Nader, a little bit of contact, might have cut it. I think he has a slowdown.
And that cut off the 69 car of Tyler Augustino as well with that move, so that got a little bit dicey all over the shot. Michael Derby able to shoot through into the number 2 spot. He says, thank you very much. And oh boy, we got another bunch of them going around. 2, 3.
Kyle Smith, Dupuis.
Yeah.
Oh, Crawford had a slowdown. He's given up a ton of spots.
Probably cutting through that secondary chicane there.
Goodness gracious. Michael Derby to the race lead now.
And this was the moment. There's Dupuis spinning it out. And, well, there goes another one going around. So looking like a lot of these cars just getting really unsettled over those curbs. And I think that's going to be a constant throughout the entire duration of the night.
I think I'd have to agree with you. I think we're going to see a lot of 1Xs, a lot of crashes, a lot of craziness all throughout the night. And, you know, we're only, what, 6.5 minutes into this heat race right here, 9.5 left to go. That means in about 15 minutes time, we've got another hectic race start with all 50 of these guys bunched up under a blanket, just like we just had for the heat race. So we got another round of chaos coming up soon. Heck, we still got a 5-car battle for the race lead here in heat race number 1 right now. Puntinator, he had contact earlier, lost some places as he had the slowdown penalty, but he's to the inside. Michael Derby not even putting up a fight. Nader back to the lead.
Oh, boy.
Oh, and Michael Derby, my word, he's hitting the high jump.
Oh, and around goes Carlton. Carlton spearing off in the background. Now they're double file for third on back. Quickly singling it out. Augustino picks up the number 2 spot. Clank up to third. And they are quickly running Nador back down for the race lead. A quarter of a second between them, and now down to 2/10.
Nader had a bad exit out of that chicane. He got sideways. There was some tire smoke. That was from the 423. Coming down to the next corner, Nader way better through the entry, but it was a little bit too much. He went wide on exit. Tyler Augustino could have a run down to the final chicane here, and he's got it firmly in the slipstream. Does the 69 go for the move? No, he just gets off the gas pedal. He doesn't go for it. I thought for sure that was the move to make, but he decides to wait until turn 1. Can he get a good exit out of the last chicane? It looks like he does. The patience might have paid off here for Augustino.
I think we're really starting to see how vital it is to get good runs off of these corners and how critical the draft can be at a similar point and trying to have a hand to say in these battles. I mean, look at the run that Nador immediately gets back. He braked a little early, forcing Augustino to take a very unoptimal line. He was able to jump on the throttle because he angled and straightened off the corner exit, whereas Augustino had to stay off the throttle to avoid running wide into the gravel trap. That's just one of the nuances of Circuit Zolder, and it makes it a real driver's track to race around. And it is genuinely thrilling to watch racing around here, even if the track layout might be, for some, perhaps a touch unorthodox. Crawford making the run for second.
I feel like I'm watching an oversized karting race, and it's fantastic. I mean, the top 5 or 6 spots. Oh, Nader, whoo, he got sideways. He's having to give up time.
Three wide.
Race lead. Tyler Augustino takes it. Crawford goes by for second as well. Like I said, though, the lead is just changing hands left and right. The top 5 positions are changing. Like, I mean, it's just nonstop. Derby sideways off the racetrack. One sideways spinning.
And that is the 0-0 that's gone around. Sorry, another 0-13 of Alexander Clegg. You got more of them spinning out towards the tail of this field. Here comes a secondary pack trying to cut through. That's Clegg. No, that's Albert. Albert in the 337 that had a bit of a loop.
These cars are fantastic. This is going to be an awesome season, I'm telling you. This is the draft that these things get down the straightaways, if you can just get an equal run of the guy in front of you, is massive. Absolutely huge, and it's really keeping these guys together at the front of the field and providing a really great show. Crawford still within shouting distance of the race leader. Punty Nader not too far behind either. Derby hasn't completely lost contact, so if they get to racing up here, who knows, we could get another 3 or 4 car battle for the race win.
And we take a look at this big gaggle. This is for 15th all the way back to 23rd. That is tucked up under a blanket. They're doing a bit of bump traffic down the straights as the 816 trying to push them closer so they can try to battle for the spots that could invert them onto the front row of the main event. Kasich and Freed going side by side. Jay Kasich, how the mighty have fallen. Started up at the top 10, had that spin early on, and he has been struggling ever since. They're side by side for the lead again. Augustino and Crawford going at it.
Yeah, Crawford able to use the slipstream, get around the outside, and just break later than Augustino into the chicane. He's able to keep it on the racetrack. Augustino with a better run. Crawford covers him off up the hill, but Augustino still looking down to the inside. Does he take the run? No, he doesn't. But Punty Nader's going to take it around the outside of Augustino for second into the chicane, and he's going to take the spot. Second place changing hands. Just like we saw at the beginning of this race, it was Punty Nader versus Alex Crawford. Now at the end, it's looking like it's going to be the same.
Hannigan cuts across the racetrack. He's going to lose a couple of spots off of a slowdown. Looking like Kasich may have just done the same. And in the battle behind, Shane Cameron going side by side with Ben Williams for 19th. Right now, this fight is really the one to watch because these guys are fighting it out to see who starts on the front row. And right now, the driver that would be doing that is Alexander Bueller running in that 58 car.
Thing is, though, typically we all know Crawford pulls out before the end of this thing and eliminates himself, right, and starts at the back for the main event. So maybe that moves back one spot. But the guys that are bump drafting a little bit further back, they're in 15th, right? They got to get to the top 12. They're 3 seconds off of 13th right now, which will inherit 12th here in a moment whenever Crawford pulls off the racetrack. So they've got some ground to make up unless they get some help from some other people raking out a little bit further up ahead.
It's not over yet. 4 minutes to go. A lot can happen in 4 minutes in the beer league. A lot can happen in 4 seconds in the beer league. GJ Crothers having an off as the Hale Satin car goes off and into the kitty litter.
They're catching up to him.
Yeah, closing back in on Crawford. He's making that dive with the lead into the chicane.
Punty Nader down to the inside. Does he get the move completed? Tough chicane. He hops the curve, and Crawford's back down to the inside. He pulls the cut back on him. The racing that we see out of that chicane is absolutely mental. It provides something every single time and just about promotes a challenge for second again this time. Augustino going to think twice about it, though. Just stay in line as Nader's trying to get up there and challenge Crawford once again for the heat race #1 win.
Adam Klein down and out from the sprint race after this problem. Just loops it around. He was already not really rounding the ready, so I think he just decided to kind of call it quits at that point in time. But already, Crawford making the drive back to the inside, and Nader retakes the race lead. Now half a second up, 0.3 of a second, and still closing. There's a lot of 3 wide battles going on right around where you're going to be seeing a lot of these guys scrapping it out to see who starts on pole. Oh, Nader! Nader's off! Nader with the early exit.
I think that might have been an Alex Crawford move.
Kind of think so as well, based on where he was.
Oh, some rough racing. I mean, a little. They're trying to bump and run through the chicanes. I'm loving it.
You're able to bump draft and rub against each other quite a bit at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve just a week ago. Looking for 3 again. Hannigan and can't quite tell who that is alongside him. Believe that to be the 24 Castro, and it is. Trying to box in the 816. Hannigan right now would be starting his race from pole position, and Aaron Thacker trying to punch him back to 13th.
Which one of these guys is it going to be? Will it be somebody else as well? There's a good couple guys fighting for these spots. We still could see somebody a little bit further up the racetrack pull off as well. These guys fighting for 11th through 15th. Currently out on the racetrack, Kasich is currently separating himself from these guys, but Chris Hannigan a little bit further back in 12th, hanging on, or at least hanging on to the battle. Thacker's taking that spot from him, but Hannigan and Castro won it back.
Castro, Hannigan, Barrett. Oh boy, side by side for that chicane is always such a bold move, and they're able to make it happen. Some of the few cars at the service where you can make that work reliably, at least. Castro continuing to hang on for that 13th place spot. Aaron Thacker running away up the road.
Castro hanging on, but it's a long line of cars behind him, led by Chris Hannigan, and he's going to peek down to the inside, going into the last chicane, and just outdrive him down into the corner. Completely outbrakes the corner, might have run a little bit too wide. Hannigan barely keeps it on the racetrack, but he's going to slow up dramatically down the front straightaway and might lose this spot. Hannigan getting it back down the front, trying to get back in the slipstream. Look at how strong it is. He was way slower out of the corner, just gets a little whiff of the slipstream and dives it back down to the bottom into 1. Makes it work, but no, he doesn't. He goes way too wide, and the 24 goes right back by.
And again, this could be that battle for the last spot of Alex Coffer. Takes himself out of the race, as is the norm for Beer League competition. Jeremy Castro continuing to make a solid play here for that 13th spot. Now Hannigan straight to the back bumper. Time will expire this time around. This is the final lap of the 15-minute sprint race where we reset things for the 1-hour main event. Austin Tucker and Shane Cameron. Still double file, and there's Coffer, just took himself out of the race and off the road. Gonna go Shane Cameron way out wide. And now this fight here, the fight for the last spot. See who starts on pole with that top 12 invert. There's Coffer off the road. Tyler Augustino comes through the final chicane. He will win the sprint race at Circuit Zolder. No problems there for Augustino. A three-way battle for 5th, and then of course that mammoth battle for the top 12.
And Chris Hannigan won out over Castro, but obviously Cofford having the issue promotes Castro up to the 12th place spot. He's going to inherit the honors of starting the race from the pole position.
So that does it. We'll reset everything for your main event. The party looks like it's getting kicked off down to do turn number 1. Now we got a few of them getting kind of bottled up there. Oh, we got one that cleared the pit wall. That road, of course, leading to the pit exit. Curious if anybody else will find a way to join in or get around that, but be a little surprised, admittedly. They're trying, though, not for lack of trying, at least. Oh, there we go. We got one over the fence. 2 over the fence. All right, we got a couple of them that cleared the ballpark. It's not a bad run at all. Usually it's a few more, but this car's been struggling to get over the wall in those post-sprint parties, so I think we'll take that one. But again, sprint race action is complete. Still just waiting on the last few cars to come across the line. Not sure where the last run of the racetrack is. Might have been Blake Gambrell.
He's about to come into the last chicane. Carson Catlin.
Ah, way long way back.
He's on a Sunday drive.
He's just cruising. Can't blame him. At the back of the field, there's no problems. Why rush it? You got an hour racing left anyway. Well, we're going to get things once again sorted here in just a moment. For now, you, of course, have yourself with the top 12 That will be inverting for main event action coming on up. And of course, those top 12 stand as Tyler Augustino, who will start his race for 12th, Michael Derby in 2nd, Augustino in 3rd, Lee 4th, Combs 5th, Wright in 6th, Clank, Flans, Bueller, and Thack for the top 10. Chris Hannigan and Jeremy Castro will be on the front row, with Castro leading the field off. We're going to take a break. When we return, it's more for the Beer League. John Combs catching up with Chris Hannigan on Behind the Mug.
Since the early days of Season 4, John Combs has been a Beer League regular who shows up week after week. No matter what car he's running, you'll consistently find John up near the top half of the field with 41 race starts to his name, 24 top 10s, 10 top 5s, and even a win.
I'm John Combs. I live in Denver, Colorado. I've got a family out here, 2 kids, 2 girls. I'm a girl dad. Love it. Yeah, I mean, I've been racing for a while. Sim racing kind of took off for me, and during COVID, and also having kids, I feel like I had to get away from the real steering wheel and onto the fake ones. But yeah, man, I've been in Colorado for like 8 years, from Virginia on the East Coast, where I spent more time in the drifting scene, out with my buddies who actually got me into Beer League, Evan and Benz, who's joined the team now. So yeah, gosh, I've been racing cars since 06 when I got my first 240 SX, got in the drift scene, and that, I don't know, I still have that car. It's sitting in the garage. When I had my first kid, that thing just got put away for a little while, and I'm thinking about reviving it now that they're getting a little older. I'm like crossing my fingers.
With racing obviously in his blood, both in real life and in the virtual world, I asked John to consider what it's like to have his kids maybe following in his footsteps. You know, what age, as a dad now, and you know what's out there, at what ages do you let your kid start to kind of get some interest in it?
I've been battling with those thoughts, because I've seen some pretty gnarly hits from the younger kids out there, and I think I'm down for her to get into the kid karts pretty soon, maybe a year or 2, and I'll feel a little better about it. I need to get a little more Power Wheels time with her in the driveway, in the street.
After 33 starts, John finally got his first Beer League win at Road Atlanta in Season 8.
It's been a long time coming, but at long last, John Combs can call himself a winner in the Beer League. He'll take it off the final quarter and wins the race at Road Atlanta.
John's win may have solidified his place in the Beer League history books, but winning's not the reason he keeps coming back week after week. You've been around for a while now. You've stuck it out. I'm looking at the thing. You've been here for over a year running with these guys. You've got a total of 34 Beer League starts, which is a lot of racing with drunk dudes on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? You got a 1-year-old at home that's obviously really, really small when you started this thing. I mean, what keeps you coming back?
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. And like, I think being on the Discord channel with all the drivers makes it that much more fun too. It's for me at least, the right balance of people taking it easy and not caring, but also there's good competition. I'm not like the top iRacing driver by any means, and so finding that crowd that I can have some really good battles with, but also people don't take themselves too seriously, I think for me it strikes that perfect balance. Although I'm super competitive, so I get too serious sometimes, and I'm like, dude, lighten up, it's Beer League. But yeah, I don't really race in any other leagues, so this was my chance to take something a little more consistently and get to know a certain crew, and I've really enjoyed the time with everybody. It's been a lot of fun.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV. Less than 60 seconds remain before we'll get this show back on the road. It's going to be a wild one here this afternoon as drivers are getting gridded on up. Last preparations underway. What do you think is in store for us when we do get out for the next hour or so at Zolder?
Well, goodness gracious, if the initial start was anything to go off of, the first 10 minutes will be unbelievable levels of mayhem that we've never seen anywhere else other than places like Bathurst or Long Beach or the Monza Oval combined no chicanes. Places like that. I feel like for whatever reason, man, that heat race was very, very crazy, very chaotic. A lot of crashes, lots of crashes at the beginning of that thing. And I think we're going to see the same thing, honestly. There's just not a lot of room here. Not a lot of room. And most of the corners, man, you're turning one way and you're immediately turning the other. I mean, a bunch of chicanes, tough sections through the racetrack, and it's very narrow. Not a lot of room. I think it's going to be chaotic.
Starting grid for the main event, and looking at a little something like this. It's going to be Jeremy Castro starting his race from pole after finishing 12th in the sprint race. Chris Hannigan starting second. Then it's Aaron Thacker in third. Bueller was fourth. Chris Flams in fifth. Alexander Clink in seventh. Chris Bright in seventh. Sorry, Clink in sixth. Combs in eighth. Jason Lee ninth. Eric Rondenberg rounds out the top 10. Michael Jervis in 11th. And your sprint race winner, Tyler Augustino, back in 12th. From there, it's Austin Tucker, Corey Barrett, Stephen Clinton, Shane Cameron, Josh Freed, Keaton Carruthers, Alex Albert, Tyler Carlton, Ron Wolf, Jake Kasich, Ben Williams, Evie Campbell, Greg Beckman, Todd Badul, Justin Hall, Darren Pye, Brooks Clayton, Ringo Harrison, Michael Hopkins, Stefan Purcell, Barrett Morton, Ryan Murphy, Jordan Babcock, Kyle Smith, Matthew Dupuis, Ethan Conde, Adam Joseph Elhott, Ryan Verhulst, Tanner Klein, Tyler Vietnan, Blake Gambrell, Punty Nador after taking an early exit along with Alex Cobbett at the tail of the field. Between them is Adam Klein, Giovanni Romano, and Carson Catlin.
How many of those cars make it through the first lap unscathed? That's the question.
Well, technically all of them because damage is off.
Okay, but I mean, like, you know, without at least some type of thing. Wow, you ruined that. You really did.
How many? I think you mean how many with 0 X's.
Exactly. How many 0 X's are we going to see after the first lap? Unfortunately, we don't get to see the incidents until after the race.
I'd say 30 or so, probably. I think we could go with 30. That would be a safe bet.
You think 30 out of the 48 are going to make it past the first lap without at least running off the track once to avoid a wreck or being in one?
25, 30. They were surprised about they kept it on the racetrack. A lot of the problems were at the back of the field.
There's a lot of cars at the back of the field, though, whenever the field is this big.
And we'll see. Revs are building. Lights go. Out, green flag drops. We're underway. Main event time from Zolder. Everybody gets off of the line clean. Now the charge down through turn 1. 3 wide for the race lead with Hannigan trying to take it early. Castro in the middle. Bueller around the outside. Hannigan picks off the top spot. There's a couple of them going around and spinning through the infield grass. One of them around again. That's Jason Lee. And out of turn number 3. Do we make it through this first bout clean? This was where we had our first really big pile up. We'll make it clean around here this time. And now, of course, it's the mad scramble down into this first chicane where everything could go wrong.
58 around the outside, just trying to hang on is Castro in the 24, the guy that led us to the green, just trying to hang on to second as they're side by side. Chris Hannigan, they're wrecking further back, but Hannigan's pulling away, but these guys all wrecking. I think I saw one of the fastest guys from the heat race, the man that was running second to Cofford, switching the lead with him. Punty Nader, I believe, got spun around at the very back of the field. It's going to be tough to recover from without a couple cautions in this one, even with the speed that he had, because it's going to be tough to pass through here with the absolute roadblocks we're seeing so far on lap 1.
Few of the cars were able to get through relatively unscathed. Chris Hannigan really breaking away with the race lead early on. Holy cow, already 1.3 seconds in just one lap and growing. And that, keep in mind, was after he started his race from third. So that, I think, really goes to show what a good run Hannigan has had here to kick things off. Meanwhile, the rest of the pack, oh boy, here's a big double file chunk. Come through that last chicane, the truck car being sent out wide, and almost 3 wide down the pit straight. I think we got 30 cars that got through that with a 0X.
I'm going to go back on my timing and scoring and check after the race, to be honest with you. I've got the time marked down. We're going to remember it. And we're going to test that because I saw a lot of names light up my incident screen. I don't know about that.
2/10 right now situated between second and third. Oh, a little bit of a nudge there. Looking at Thacker, locking it up, and he's going to miss the chicane by a country mile. No hope in hell of making that one. And now the 809 tracking right to the door of Ben Williams, and around he goes. Keeps it off the fence. But that puts him 3 wide up over the crest.
A lot of guys still fighting, coming down. Brooks Clayton in the 9. All these guys fighting in the mid-teens. A lot of wrecking a little bit further up in the chicane. Just still impossible. All these guys under a blanket with each other. Nowhere on the racetrack to go. A lot of side-by-side battles. And there's just no wide part. Or the racetrack never widens out. There's never any room to actually get side-by-side. And it's just not working out for most of the field getting through on the first couple laps.
Zolder really is one of those you can run but you can't hide type of racetracks, especially when they start to bottle up in some of these tighter chicanes. Again, still, the battle is on for 4th. The top 3 started to really break away for the rest of the pack. Jimmy Castro being a serious cork in the bottle that other drivers like John Combs are having to make short work of if they want to have any hope of contending for the lead here.
Yeah, Castro, he started in the race lead, but he's kind of been holding people up, slightly dropping through the field over the course of the first 4 minutes.
Oh, look at this.
And we're 4
look
wide.
at this.
Oh, no, we're not quite.
They
The
tried,
Greenhouse
and I
car is
think
not
the
gonna
12
be there.
of Verhulst realized what was going to happen and decided, no thank you.
If we can get 4 wide down the front straightaway at Zolder, we can definitely get 6 wide down the straight at Le Mans.
I think that's just confirmed it. But right now the fight's on for 4th. Combs, Castro, Ronenberg, all vaulting up and over the Kirby. Another little bit of a 3-wide scrap. Well, thinking about it at least. Dupuis backing off with the 71. And Crawford making tracks here early on. He's already up to 25th.
Making good inroads early, only 5 minutes into this thing. And already halving his starting position, right? He started all the way in the back, 50 cars in this thing, just about. So get up to 25th in the early goings. Pretty solid work from Alex Crawford. His other competitors that started the back not doing quite as good of a job. Giovanni Romano and from what it seems like, Punty Nader, neither of those guys getting through quite as well just of yet. But up at the front of the field, Hannigan got away early because there was a couple guys battling side by side for second. They lost a second and a half to Chris Hannigan. But ever since Bueller has taken that second place spot, he has solidly reeled in your race leader, and he's just about on the back bumper, and he's firmly within the draft. He's going to make the move on this lap.
And he's going to try to make that look for sure. Hannigan, Bueller, Flams. I'll try to see who can get some kind of big move going. Right now, though, the 4 maintaining a strong run with that race lead. But Bueller is one of those guys that was fighting near the front of the field earlier on in the sprint race as well. So he's a guy that knows how to work Zolder to a T. So we'll see if he's able to make that lunge. I don't think he's going to make it into this chicane here, and he is not going to. I don't even think he's going to make it into the second chicane. I think what we're going to be seeing here, he's going to be making that move down the backstretch towards the front.
I feel like what it seems to me is you get a run out of the chicane, out of one of the chicanes. You try to find a run and then make a move into the next corner. That's what I've seen the most passes for the leader for second place be. That time, the 58, Bueller did not get a good run. He actually lost a big chunk of time, and Chris Flams is all over his back bumper now as we're looking at a replay of another spin through yet another chicane. Obviously, the trouble spots out on the racetrack today. Bueller going defensive. Down to the corner, able to hang on a second. He's got a little bit of ground he's got to make up now after that bit of a mistake he made a moment ago.
Eric Ronenberg and John Combs still knows the tail as well. They're looking for side-by-side behind. Jimmy Castro squeezing Tyler Augustino out to the right-hand side. Your sprint race winner trying to claw his way through the field, and Castro not making it easy for him.
Castro down to the inside, going defensive. How late does he break into the corner? Can he make it stick? Did they make contact? He's able to hang on. No contact between the two, but Augustino able to stick it back down to the inside on the next corner. You got to think the 69 is going to have this move done with the right-hander coming up next as well. Long sweeping right-hander. Tyler Augustino getting himself up into 6. Remember, he started this race in the 12th place spot. He's the one that won the heat race. He's coming through the field trying to get back up to the lead.
He's not the only one. You've still got other guys deep in the pack that are trying to make themselves in with some good runs, as well as Augustino, Castro, Bright, Clank, Barrett. Oh, vaulted over the curves, and that's going to be a slowdown for sure from Chris Bright. Oh, didn't really have much of a choice, though, as he was being forced into an impossible situation.
Hannigan just about lost it through the chicane. He might have had a corner cut. I'm not quite sure yet. He hasn't given up any time yet, so I don't think he has a slowdown. Side by side, Bueller to the outside. We got a battle for the race lead. Chris Hannigan into the 4 just trying to hang on, but Bueller's been quicker. Can he hang on the inside? The Truck Machine around. Hannigan in the race lead. Still side by side with Bueller.
Hannigan up into the race lead as Tyler Carlton having that issue further back now. Bueller trying to size something up. Oh, boy. 2 abreast to the final chicane is brave, but it's doable. And are we going to have 3 wide for the lead down the pit straight? We sure will. Chris Hannigan on the left, Bueller in the middle, and it's going to be Combs on the right. In the midst of all of this, you've got Flams and Ronenberg. Oh, no, and around goes Bueller. Bueller takes himself out of contention. Off the road, Combs still battling for the top spot as they work through turn 2.
These guys still racing up for the race lead, but one of the contenders down and out. Bueller spun out of it. John Combs up in the lead. Now he's going defensive over Chris Hannigan, or at least Chris got to his back bumper, not able to go for the move. Combs in the lead, but now the slipstream goes to Chris Hannigan. He's got the run. He's got to go for the move because he's got someone so close behind, but Ronenberg actually gives Hannigan some room. Oh, but they both come up in. The front 2 spinning through the chicane. Hannigan and Combs both jump over the curbing and wreck out of it.
Holy cow, and they're not the only one. Corey Barrett having a slide at the tail of things as well. Ronenberg now way up in front. A wild moment there. Tabadol and Matthew Dupuis both going around. And as it stands, you've got several cars still packed up. Line is third. You got Corey Barrett, Ron Wolf, Giovanni Romano, and more, all still packed up in a big blanket. Romano doing whatever he could do to try to get something working for him. Talk about a ride, though, for both Combs and for Hannigan. A wild jump right through the chicane. Hitting those sausage curbs at just the worst point. It's the second one here that really did him in.
Both of them, honestly. I mean, the way that the back end of the car reacted over that was just super aggressive. And the problem is you have to hit that curb to make speed, right? You've got to be pretty aggressive over it. It's just how aggressive can you be? And, well, both the front 2, they just bit off a little bit more than they could chew.
Field still having itself with a good run. Already, by the way, we are 10 minutes in, and now Chris Flams looking around the outside of Eric Ronenberg. He's going to try to pick off a spot, and he is going to go up to the race lead. So Flams takes one away from Ronenberg. Everyone else, you got Clank, Bright, McClendon all behind. Still trying to make some moves as well. Tyler Marcino, the sprint race winner, already up to the number 3 spot, and right now within 2 seconds of the race leader as well. And in fact, doesn't look like Ronenberg is quite done fighting with Flams either.
Ronenberg not quite losing touch. As long as he stays in that slipstream through the slower portions of the racetrack, he's got a chance as soon as we get back down to the straightaways. One more corner before we get to a couple of long straights. Ronenberg could have an opportunity after this right-hander. He's got to have a good run and then get through the kink well and firmly in the slipstream of the 137. Does he make the move into the chicane, or does he wait until turn 1?
A couple of cars still finding themselves with some issues at the tail of the field. No move being made into the final chicane. You got a move being made, though, deeper in the field here. In fact, a lot of moves being made. Oh, boy. And Chris Bright taking a pit road here on this one. So green flag stops underway already for Bright. Well, the old 13, the 51, and the 74. All packed up under a blanket. Oh, and a bit of a bumper. That's going to send Clank wide, deep into the kitty litter, and able to get things sorted now. McClendon, Cameron. Still two abreast as they work their way through 2 and now through 3. This here, the fight for 7th. Got a lot of cars in a pit road. Austin, can we be looking at a 4-stop race this afternoon?
Is that where they're pitting this early, or are they? I don't know. I feel like they're playing a little bit of strategy to cut it out a little bit different, to be honest with you. I think we can make it longer than what we're running right now. This might be. I'm looking. Maybe a 3-stopper. With the strategy. Man, I don't know. It could very well still be a 2-stopper, but they're just pitting very, very early because they want to beat out a potential caution. Could be a lot of strategy to play in it.
Well, remember as well, these cars have some very small fuel tanks. I mean, they're only made for, sprint racing in the club scene. They're not used to going an hour or longer, so this could very well be just one of those fuel limitation type of deals as well. Chris Hannigan, see him in a big battle right now with Ben Williams, John Combs, Alex Crawford. All the while, Ronneberg and Flams continuing to remain within about a 10th and a half. Nobody else, though, coming to pit road, and now we are 16 minutes into this race. Hannigan's off the road. 3 wide down the front stretch, and Combs trying to go in the middle, and we're going for 4. 4 wide down the front straightaway. Down in the turn number 1. Who backs out? No one backs out. If anybody, Hannigan backed up from the inside, and Combs shoots through it, goes 3 for 4.
Crawford up to 13th also, and he's trying to go to 12th place here to the inside of Combs. It looks like he's going to have that spot over John Combs as he goes into the right-hander. Both these guys battling it out for the top 12. Crawford all the way from the back of the pack. Combs, though, with the momentum on the top side of the racetrack, still sweeping it around the outside. They're going to be even down the straight. 3 wide again.
And they're going to quickly back out, and unsurprisingly so, but yet still, oh boy, in deep goes Crawford, and Hannigan didn't even try, and the caution is out. You know what? I think from Hannigan, he knew that caution was coming, right, because it gives him that warning.
Did he just do that on purpose?
I think he was trying to get some cheeky spots there with that, and then serve the penalty when the yellow flag came out, and nobody could pass him. It's very cheeky if that's what he did, but that's the only thing that can explain why he just full throttled the chicane like that.
That is some Dale Earnhardt passing the grass stuff right there. He's keeping the spots.
Exactly. He's got a slow up penalty that he just served, and no one can pass him. They're not allowed to because the caution's out.
What a genius. What a genius,
man. Is that
man.
legal? Are you allowed to do that? I mean, I guess if there's no rule against it, there's about to be.
I just became a Chris Hannigan fan. If I wasn't already from him coming in the broadcast booth last season with us, now I'm a big fan. That was a hell of a move right there. That was using your brain.
So Chris Flams with the race lead, Ronneberg second. Augustino, the sprint race winner, is up to third. No sign. There's the RC safety car. They were a little bit too eager, it looks like. So it's going to have to do some catch-up here. Albert 5th, Castro 6th, McClendon 7th, Clayton, Cameron, and Thacker round out the top 10. So I think now we're going to be seeing pretty much everybody else that hasn't already come down to pit road pitting for their first time tonight.
I think that's a safe bet, and this is what those guys were covering for, right? I think they're just offsetting their pit strategy, right? I think it's just that their fuel window opened to whatever amount of pit stops they needed to make in the race, right? If it was just, I need 13 minutes of fuel in this race, then, well, 13 minutes passed. Go ahead and take your pit stop, because if the caution flag comes out, you're going to jump everybody else that stayed out on the racetrack. So it very well could be one stop, and all those guys just wanted to come down, stay on the lead lap, and end up inheriting the race lead. We're gonna have to wait and see, right? We don't quite know exactly what the strategy is gonna play out like. I don't think we've ever seen this aggressive of a one stop in the beer league, and in these things you're on the throttle a lot. So I imagine we're leaning more towards the 2-stop scenario, but 3 would be the max. I really think I see a 2-stop here.
Well, we're going to find ourselves with some good old racing action for 2. We've had a crash and a caution. We've had multiple crashes and a caution. Justin Hall, Babcock, Harrison, Tucker. Looking like they've had a bit of an issue here. And this was just catching the tail of the field. That's just a massive concertina. And then this is Tucker. Again, under the safety car with this one. And this one, I do believe, oh my goodness, did the same thing at the top too, and then right across the racetrack, straight into Jason Lee.
I'm going to be honest. For some reason, and even on ovals, whenever the caution flag comes out, sometimes you just run a little bit faster trying to catch up to the field than you mean to, and you just don't even realize that you've passed your braking zone, especially whenever you're running at a different speed. So sometimes it just catches you out, and well, whenever you may be a couple beers deep, it might make that a little bit easier to do too.
Not everybody has come down to pit road. McClendon, Williams, Romano, Beckman, Condi, Campbell, Cruthers, Harrison, all staying out. And then, of course, everybody that pitted on lap 7 is staying out as well. But that's a good 8-9 cars that are not pitting from the lead lap. They're going to be pitting relatively early into the green flag run.
Gonna have to wait and see how the strategy plays out. Still very early in this thing, right? We're only a third of the way into it. 40 minutes still to go as we work this caution period. A lot of people playing the strategy early, seeing that early pit stop, and now everybody else, what I would call really strategy A, the main pack of guys coming down pit road during the caution period, kind of sorting itself out. Strategy B, gonna be the guys that are gonna be the front runners now. McClendon, Williams, Romano, Beckman, Condi, Campbell, Cruthers, Harrison, Prite, Tucker. I mean, a lot of these guys. Wow. There's a lot of guys that.
Holy cow!
That
Flams took tires, and in doing so, he dropped back from what would have been 15th back to 30th. Huge uphill battle for Flams now.
Yeah, not typically what you want to see. And, you know, typically we've seen that this thing kind of separates itself into battle packs, right? You kind of get little draft trains. And once they get separated, and whenever you start back further back in 30th, it's very hard to be in one of the front ones. Once they get separated, it's very hard to get to the front of one and then pull away from it and catch the next one. And then, oh, you've got to battle your way through 3 or 4 more cars. And then you've got another gap that you've got to run down. And it can be very tedious, very monotonous, and at the end of the day, you might just run out of time before you can get back up to the front. So that could be a race ender for Flams.
Well, there is still a long way to go here this afternoon, and you know for a fact that some drivers are still going to be having a time of it. So, while we got the chance here under this first safety car period of a possibility of 2, we'll take a break. Be back in a moment.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
welcome back to Green Flag TV. Just moments away from return to the Green Flag Racing with about 36 minutes on the docket. Once again, McClendon, Willens, Romano, Beckman, Condi, Cambo, Cruthers, and Harrison for the top 8. They have not come down to pit road. Should be an interesting restart here, Austin.
Yeah, no kidding. The double file restart coming down to turn 1. Like I said at the beginning of this thing, it was straight chaos in the beginning of the heat race and at the beginning of this one. Double file restart. It's going to be the same.
Able to get away well. 36 minutes as it takes to the green flag. 3 wide already. We got 2 of them going around. Down in the turn number 1. Multiple 4, 5 at the back of the shot. Still stacking them in deeper in the pack.
There's Flams.
That's about half the field that's just been collected coming off of turn number 1.
Flams was in it, man. He had the bad pit stop, and now he's further back. The 11 getting spun around down into 2. It just doesn't stop. Huge wreck down into turn 2.
Jake Casey being drilled by Ryan Murphy, and now Matthew Dupuy, Alex Albert, Alexander Bueller all under a blanket. So we cut our way through that second chicane. It's an ever treacherous one on the racetrack. A couple guys locking up, and a bit of contact behind. It's bumper cars now as we work our way through. Hannigan doesn't give a crap. He just straight lines the chicane.
That was honestly smart, too, to be honest. The slowdown's going to come, but he's still probably net gained out of that, and he avoided any danger. So Hannigan's playing 4D chess through that freaking chicane.
The whole field slicing and dicing their way through, and now here we go, a bit more 3 wide action. Castro, Dupuy, and Clegg. Holy cow, looking for 4! Look at this move from John Combs! Down the inside, he's gonna go 3 for 3 in one corner! Where did that come from?
Your sack is so large, John Combs. That was unbelievable. What a move. 4 wide, making it work. A little bit of contact on the outside, but John Combs says, I do not care. I'm taking it. What a move. That's the way to get to the front of the battle pack and be able to run down the next one. John Combs, that was massive.
Holy cow. Take another look at this. Right on board. Saw the 3 wide, had the run, said, I'm not lifting today. 2 wheels in the grass, whipped the inside into the hairpin, and made the look happen.
That was incredible. How about Castro leaving him the room, too? I mean, he very well could have closed that off, but he gave him the space for it, and Combs, man, he took that with a big smile on his face. I mean, how, dude? You barely got room for that. Barely got room for that, and Combs makes it work.
I cannot believe that worked out. That should have been a massive wreck right there. We got a battle for the lead as well. Ben Williams trying to keep Chris Bright behind. Bright pitted back on lap 7. He did not pit under the caution. He's trying to make a run at the top spot.
Williams trying to hang on up at the front now that he's got it. Still racing behind. McClendon's lost out. Chris Bright, though, we saw him getting a slowdown penalty not too long ago. Now he's up here racing for the race lead. Ben Williams, he's got it. Second at the start of this lap. Took it away from McClendon. McClendon starting to drop. Even in the draft, starting to drop off the front, too. But Chris Bright, he's looking down to the inside, but the 187 turns in. Even with Bright going for the move. They make contact down to the corner. McClendon takes the race lead right back.
McClendon says, thank you very much, and he takes that one away. Looking for 3 wide again. Down the back straightaway and in towards the final chicane. 2 by 2 for the number 2 spot, with Chris Bright and Greg Beckman trying to fight it out. And a bit more, almost 3 wide behind. We didn't see nearly this much 3 and nearly 4 wide over at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve a week ago. Making up for it here this afternoon.
Oh, and they're 3 wide, a little bit behind Ben Williams. For the 8th place position, Austin Tucker was in a little bit of a fight. They've somewhat sorted it out, but Albert and Crothers still side by side. Crothers down on the inside, that 809, trying to make it work. Just pushing out Albert to the outside of the racetrack. And a little bit further up, we got a little bit more racing too. I mean, everywhere you look, there's battles all over the racetrack.
That is unbelievable. I'm still in shock that worked. That should not have worked. But they managed to make it work. How about Barrett Morton finding that with Tyler Vietnam? This is deeper in the field for about 29th and 30th. So Giovanni Romano's in the mix. He's trying to get his traditional first challenge going. He's only out 15th on the day. Still a long way to go over Romano. And he just lost the spot as well to the number 45 machine of Tyler Carlton. He's going to have to try to take that spot back. So right now, Vietnam having a bit of a time trying to keep Baron Morton's number 6 behind. And now they're 2x2 for the number 2 spot as well up the road between Bright and Freed.
Right, just hanging on after that little bit of contact. He was just challenging for the race lead, looking like he was going to take it and drive off into the distance, but now he's under pressure from Freed, who's all over the back bumper. That number 3 car in 3rd place, just giving a bump draft to Chris Bright down the straightaway here. Coming down to the last chicane. He's thinking it's better to make the move down into turn number 1. He's just setting himself up for a good move out of the last corner. Can he do it? Bright had a bit of a gap going into the corner, but we had a little bit of an incident further behind.
Darren By looking for the inside of Ronneberg, locks up the left front, spins it out right on the apex, collects the 703 as well of Matthew Dupuis, and he tumbled down the timing charts here. He's all the way back now in 32nd, right ahead of this battle pack, a little bit deeper in the field. But Klein, Mailhot, and Moore all scrapping it out. And then for 4th, again, Jason Lee getting around Greg Beckman along with Ben Williams, and Williams nearly takes Lee out in turn.
That was close between those two. You know, and I thought Ben Williams, after that incident with the lead, I thought he was just going to crumble, start falling back, but he's kept the foot in it, kept his foot in it, kept himself in the fight. He's currently in the 5th place spot, so he's doing a great job at least getting himself back up here, giving himself a chance. Currently 4 seconds off the race lead. Fight behind. Agostino gets turned into the outside wall. Agostino, a guy that's been in the top 10 all night. The heat race #1 winner goes hard into the barriers.
Oh,
and
he's not the only
up
one.
for the spot, and he gets killed as he's just sitting there. Conti gets hip checked into him.
Nothing that Ethan Conti could do about it in that situation. That is just the most unfortunate timing that you possibly could have asked for in that type of a situation.
Tough break for Conti too. You know, just making a move on Dupuis. You don't know that there's a car stopped right in that spot. You finally see him right there as you come around the corner. Or sorry, you're already side by side, not with Dupuis, but you're already caught side by side. You don't really have anywhere to go, and you just get hip checked in the middle of that chicane, and well, nothing you can do about it.
Greg Beckman coming to pit road, and kind of going back to that, it's not like the opponent that was alongside him could do much either, because he's got to try to make the corner as well, or he's definitely going to get a slowdown penalty. He was being pinched over to the right, so that's just one of those racing incidents where it's just a lot of cars in the wrong place at the wrong time. Alex Albert backs out from 3 wide, and good thing he did, because Todd Badol goes way off the racetrack.
Todd Badol just getting turned to the outside in turn 1, losing a ton of spots. All the way back to 19th. I mean, that's heartbreaking for Madold in a 3-way battle here.
Ooh,
just gets a little bit of contact. Definitely a lot of help from behind.
And now, how about this? 3 wide for 3rd. And it'll be Lee that backs out as Ben Williams picks up the number 3 spot. Freed bullying Lee out. And now, who sweeps through but Austin Tucker?
Yeah, you better not be 3 wide by the time we get down to one of these chicanes. Good freaking luck. There's no chance you come out of. Williams just completely spun from the top 5. Able to keep it out of the wall, but losing a good chunk of time to a lot of these guys. Might lose one more spot. John Combs going around the outside. He's got the momentum. So Combs, he took too much of it. Too much. Kitty litter bad. He's going to lose out, but Williams lost a good chunk of time to the rest of the top 5 here. But Josh Freed's going to give him a little bit of it back.
Stephen Clendon was up by 3 seconds ahead of 1st and 2nd place, but that gap has been steadily coming down, and in fact, he's going to be coming down to pit road now. Chris Bright.
It might be 3 stops.
Chris Bright picks up the race lead. Now, keep in mind, that's McClendon's first stop all race. He was able to save a lot under caution.
What?
Well, remember, and it's the same story for a lot of drivers that are coming in. Right now, the first driver that pitted under caution is actually John Combs in 5th.
Well, but there were a lot of guys that pitted right before the caution, and those are the ones I
the
thought
top
McClendon
4
was
all pitted from laps 5 to 7.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So I'm concerned about that. Okay, well, there's a spin behind. But either way, that means you could make it on a 1 stop. He made it 30 minutes. He's just got to need, or he's going to need one more yellow.
I was going to say, I would dispute that, because if this goes green to the end, you're not making it that distance. You need a yellow to do that.
he's the only one on that strategy. It very well could work out from him or for him. He pitted from the race lead by a second and a half. As long as he doesn't get held up too much in traffic or get caught up in an incident, which is a big if, I might add. If he catches that yellow, he inherits that race lead right back just from everybody else having to pit, and he saves enough gas, makes it to the end of the race. McClendon might be in the driver's seat here, but it relies on that yellow.
Corey Barrett alongside with Jimmy Castro. They were side by side all the way through the last chicane, and now they try to do it again, and Barrett spins it right into traffic, forces 2 off the racetrack. Jimmy Castro going to have Eric Ronenberg rejoin just behind. Ronenberg's going to have a slowdown with that. He's not the only one that's gone off. Corey Barrett is off the road, just getting rejoined. The rest of this field, I think, started to try to gather themselves. There's Condi, pulled it off. Where is Condi going? Condi's a lap down. That explains it.
He's just getting out of the way for everybody. He's
Yeah,
being
that explains a lot. It's not a good place to be doing it, though. Yikes. Tucker and Freed are both in.
So we're expecting everybody, even the guys that came down pit road during the caution period, we're expecting everybody to have one more pit stop, except Steve McClendon if a yellow flag comes out. Everybody else, we're thinking is coming down one more time. And that's kind of how the race is going to play out. But currently, Chris Bright is looking really nice right now with a 5.5 second over, a 5.5 second lead, I should say, over Jason Lee. Combs not too far behind. A lot of parity in our top 10, I gotta say. A couple different runners, especially up at the front. I mean, Chris Bright, Jason Lee, John Combs, your top 3. That's a lot different than we typically see on the podium here at the Beer League.
0.2 of a second. Down to a 10.5. These guys are continuing to try to battle it out with one another. Look at the 423. Oh boy, somebody just vaulted over the curves, and that's going to send Corey Barrett way out wide into the grass. So we'll get it back sorted. Fight time for second as well. Chris Bright now out by 5.3 seconds. But again, right now, John Combs, the one driver that we think, well, the one driver that could go the longest, and the next closest guy to him is 6 seconds back the road with Jeremy Castro.
Oh, a spinner coming out of the corner there, coming back onto the back straightaway. I think Chris Bright might be coming down pit road as well.
All of the top Jason 3 Lee? Are.
Did Jason Lee have a... Sorry, I had a notification that Jason Lee had a crash, but he was coming down pit road instead.
Yeah, Bright, Lee, Combs, Castro, all in a pit road now. In fact, not just them. Carlton, Hopkins, Albert, Thacker, they're all into the pits. About 8 or 9 right there.
Where do these guys come out relative to Steve McClendon? Right? How good of a job has Steve McClendon done since he's come down pit road? He's coming down into the final chicane right now. Can he get down the front straightaway faster than these guys get out of pit road on what will be their final pit stop? They're coming out now. McClendon's just now coming out of the final chicane. Crossing the start-finish line now. Bright out of pit road. Combs out of pit road. Can McClendon overtake him? He had a 1.5 seconds on him before the pit stops. Coming around the outside of turn number 1. As McClendon's funneling in, it looks like Chris Bright's going to have the lead. John Combs hot on his tail, and McClendon right behind him. Like I said, I think McClendon needs a caution, but he's at least within breathing distance of the race leaders. He's there with them.
22.5 minutes to go, and with that, we're less than 10 minutes away from that caution window closing. So if we are going to get that second yellow, it has to come in the next 7.5 minutes.
Does McClendon get what we think he needs? Oh, we had a spinner there. Blake Gambrill just went off in the chicane. That chicane, man, that's... with this car, that's got to be the deadliest chicane I've ever seen. Holy cow. You just cannot hit
bumps,
that curve.
Man. And these cars don't have a lot of suspension.
Oh, Josh Freed's around. McClendon's around. John Combs, I think, is involved too. The guys that we were just talking about that could be racing for the race win all just had an accident.
Oh, and that was Combs running Freed over.
Oh, Combs got out of it.
Yeah, Combs gave out of it to redress and give the spot back.
Yeah, so that kind of sets Chris Wright apart from everybody. Depending on the strategy, Chris Wright might just have this thing locked up. I mean, he might be gone and away from everybody without the caution.
McClendon, Wolf, Castrol, Gambrill, all under a blanket. Oh, boy. Look at Steve McClendon having a bit of a wobble there, and that's going to open up the door for Ron Wolf and Jeremy Castro to both try to get through. 3 wide down the front stretch. The 79 thinking about 4, but they're going to quickly make themselves wide to block the track. The 119 into the door of Castro. They'll hang on, though. Nobody going off the track. And now there's 337 things. He wants to get through.
I really feel like the racing I'm seeing out here is like whenever I go out to a go-kart track with a couple of my buddies and we're just having a good time, a blast, and we're just beating and banging and beating the crap out of those rental carts or whatever. I mean, it's the exact same style of racing with these little spec racer Fords. It's ridiculous, the show that we've been seeing at Zandvoort today, and they're still going at it. Big lockup going into the chicane. Having it cut through. McClendon has had a hell of a last couple laps. He's going to have to slow up for that, even though it wasn't his fault. And give up a couple spots, but man, it's gone from really good to okay to really bad really quickly for Steve McClendon.
Oh, now around going free!
Josh Reed didn't turn around again.
Just got taken out by the 809. Keaton Crutch with a big mistake, and I'm sure he'll be forced to redress that one as well. Combs back off the racetrack. He's going to get himself sorted after going through a bit of lawn mowing. It's getting physical out there now with 20 minutes to go. And only 5 minutes until that caution window closes.
A couple more guys decided to come down pit road. What strategy plays out the best? Who's hit it? Who's hit the nail on the head? Do we get that yellow flag to kind of throw a little bit of a loop into things at the end of this one? Chris Hannigan under all types of pressure. Currently running in 11th place. Austin Tucker all over the back end trying to take it in a little four-way battle here for 9th.
Fight for second is on as well. Puntinator looks to the inside of Alexander Bueller, makes up the pass with the number 2 spot. This is about 3.3 seconds behind current race leader Alexander Clank. The top 6 have not come down for the second and final stops of the race. They're the only drivers that have not come down for that second stop. They might be trying to go the distance here and hope to see if they can get a lucky caution in the last 3.5 minutes that it can come out, and then they can try to stretch it to the end.
I was about to say, they're going to need a caution, right? To be able to stretch it that far, you got to think. And even then, it's a question mark in my mind. I don't see it happening. They've already been out there for 12 laps. Takes, what, 1 minute and 45 seconds to get around this place. So it's not like a lap is a short period of time. I'm willing to bet that they don't have enough fuel to get to the end of it. But at the same time, I'm shocked to see guys like Alex Clank out there on the older stuff whenever, if a caution does come out, they're completely screwed. If they can't make it, that is. But I really just don't think they can make it.
Several cars still really packed up line to stern here. It is an extremely tight battle that a lot of these guys are having to run. You take a look at some of the onboards from deeper throughout the field. There's a look to the inside. Flan's going to make one up on Josh Free by just sending it into turn 1. He's just able to slow it down to avoid running them off the racetrack. Then up the road, there's Albert getting around Castro. Behind them, Williams fighting it out. We've got a few of them around. Bear Morton's around. Carson Catlin is off the road and possibly waiting to try and redress something. Whoa, boy. Just stepping it out, and there's Morton. Oh, he lost it all by himself. So 2 completely isolated incidents then.
Loud pedal, too loud. Got on the gas pedal very, very heavily there.
Whoa, and
Ripped
around
it
goes
around,
Williams.
And, well, yeah, Ben Williams hitting that curb like we've seen so many people do all night long. Freeway wide, might make some contact off the racetrack. Cuts another corner. Man, the last 5 or so laps, ever since the pit stop for Ben Williams and Josh Freed, it has just been one disaster after another.
It's not been a pleasant ride, I think, for several drivers tonight. And this might be a race that a lot of them are hoping to forget by the end of the night as well. Tyler Carlton and John Combs are side by side. Oh, Combs trying to outbrake Carlton, and he's just going to hang on.
Combs hanging onto the spot. Now they're side by side in his mirror. These guys fighting for the 18th place spot behind John Combs. The 45 down to the inside. Carlton able to take it away. Justin Hall now just on the defensive. I mean, the 99 right all over his back bumper, able to take the spot easily. Thacker right by his inside as well. Justin Hall just bleeding spots.
Struggling big time right here as these guys try to fight for whatever they can muster. 20 seconds before the caution window expires, and we'll only have one on the afternoon. And they are still double file racing like it's the last lap. Nador comes to pit road. Castro almost spins it out, and caution window is closed.
And we got to think that these guys up in the lead have to come down pit road to see some tire smoke. That's never a good sign. The 27 stopped, so don't come back on the racetrack. It's not a good spot. Ben Williams almost gets hit. Holy cow. 27 finally able to pull it off, but that was a little bit of a sketchy moment there. Michael Hopkins with a issue at the apex of the corner, but now Chris Flam's thrown it down to the bottom. He's had a lot of issues over the last few laps as well, but just trying to pick up the scraps now. Able to pick up one more spot, but man, he is way back in 20th. Hunty Nader down pit road from second place. So here come those front runners starting to come down pit road. At least one of them.
For how many pit stops we've had, I'm still very surprised that we got so many of these cars packed up so tightly line of stern as that they've been running just on the racetrack under pure pace this entire time. So all
Kirby's
of this,
come down pit road as well.
all of this, like you said, should cycle Chris right through to the race lead.
What a race Bright has run, but also we got to point out Crawford's only 0.8 of a second off of him. So Crawford out of absolutely nowhere, because I really don't know where Alex Crawford came from. Never mind, he's just wrecked out. Crawford was a second off of him. We were going to have a battle for the lead, but now Chris Bright, I think, is solely in the right spot for it. But Crawford was just pointed backwards as soon as I switched to him. So that's typically not a good sign.
The 12, the 27, also in a bit of a tiff right now. Pretty big battle going on for about 29th on down. Trying to get a brief look on what happened here to Crawford. Crawford now finds himself running the 11th overall.
Oh, he got the hoppies. He got the hoppies.
He got the hoppies? He got the hoppies.
He got the hoppies. Big time.
No surprise on the hoppies for Crawford. Oh man, whoa, a huge brake lockup in front of these guys, and that's not even a brake lockup, that's just a flat out spin between Campbell and Williams.
Again? Goodness gracious, man, get some luck. Holy cow. Ever since the pit stop, it's just been one thing after another.
Okay, he kind of did that to himself, admittedly.
Okay, well,
oh, boy.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'll give you that one.
Having a dive to the inside. Flam's trying to pick off Todd Badol. Badol out wide through one. And Flam's able to just cling on. 64 of Hall, the 816 of Thacker. Now the 137 cut at the inside of the 13 machine. And he is through. So put Chris Flams up to 17th.
continuing his charge back to the field, trying to make up for lost ground. But up towards the front, Chris Bright has inherited the race lead. Clank now 2 seconds back. Ronenberg 3.5. Can anybody in the top 3 run him down? We haven't talked much about Chris Bright all night, and all of a sudden at the end of this thing, he finds himself with a 2-second lead. I mean, at the 30-minute mark, I would have never thought that he would have been in this spot, but here he is in that Cinnamon Toast Crunch machine, making it work. But he did lose a good chunk of time there. And there's a lot of places on this racetrack you can lose time. We've seen it time and time again. We just said it with Cofford. It only takes getting the hoppies one time and your race is over from this point on. And I don't know if he's running conservative or making mistakes, but he's consistently losing time to Clank right now and Ronenberg for the lead.
I mean, pit stops, man, they can really shake things up, but they can kind of put you in places where you didn't think you were going to see people before. You see Justin Hall making a move. We saw this in the High Tide Racing League MFRD Premier Series just this past Monday night at Indianapolis. Some pretty wild fuel strategies going on. You know, some people pinning in, and I thought for sure, oh yeah, they'd be pitted again. First splashing before the end, they're gambling on caution, much like we saw here. Didn't end up happening. Brian Dees, Dalton Kilroy took in Team MFRD 1-2 in that race. John Osborne was third. Aaron Smith, first driver that was on the fresh field, chasing him down. 14.4 seconds out of the number 4 spot. It was a pretty, it was a wild race, and it can happen, right? We almost saw it happen with the OMSRL Cup Series, with some pretty hard, aggressive battling in the round of 8 opener last night as well. So there's pit strategies can always throw some wrenches into the works.
Yeah, it's definitely had its hand in the race tonight. A lot of guys playing pit strategy right off the bat, right? 13 to 14 minutes into this thing. We saw people already coming down pit road just in anticipation of that caution flag. They were playing the track position game. A lot of them won out on it. One of those, I believe, being Chris Bright, and look at where it's got him, up into the race lead. But Alex Clank, man, he is running them down consistently. It's under a second. About 0.6 of a second between the leader and second place coming down the front straightaway. He's starting to feel the slipstream, and I got to think Ronenberg's getting up there too. And man, Freed, another one of those guys that since the pit stop, it's just gone no good.
He just took a drive-through through pit road and then immediately pulled over and towed on the exit. So I'm not sure why. Hold on here. Did he maybe get an unsafe pit exit for hitting both walls there? And that's why he pulled it off?
Do you get that?
There are some places that are pretty stringent about it.
Man. I figured you just had to keep it between the lines if there was some road. I didn't realize that there was road courses where you had to not ping it off the wall. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but like, I think you could cut him some slack on that one.
McClendon, Combs, Romano. All of them looking set to try to duke it out as well. And there's Ronenberg off the road. So Ronenberg finds himself into the kitty litter, and now just 8 minutes on the clock.
Jason Lee running in the top 10, running in 9th place right now, or at least he was, because he has to serve a pit stop for a slowdown penalty, or not a slowdown penalty, sorry, a pit stop for or a drive-through for a incident level limit penalty. Goodness, that took me a while to get out, but now I got him out for the race lead. Alex Clank has finally caught up to Chris Bright, and coming to 7.5 minutes to go. Bright's just giving it to him. What in the world am I seeing? He just got off the gas.
Might not have enough. Remember, Clank pitted 6 laps. He pitted back on lap 25. That's 6 laps later than Chris Bright did. So Bright might be having to save a little bit to try to go the distance.
I can't believe that he's just giving the race lead away. He got off the gas down the front straightaway and just gave it over to Alex Clank. Hunted Native now the closest challenger in 3rd, 3.3 back from the leader. So he's probably not going to get there.
Oh, look out. Corey Barrett
no.
hard into the arm code. He's going to take Topadol with him. And that was after he got a bit of a hip check with a pinch.
Chris Bright maybe in fuel saving mode, giving the race lead over to Alex Clank here in the dying moments of the race.
Explain why he lost all that time so quickly.
That's the only thing I can think of. That's the only reason I can think of why he would be, not put up a challenge. I mean, I watched it back. He had 2 wheels on the curb at all times, unless that chicane is just a little bit more strict and you have to keep it between the white lines, and 2 wheels on the red isn't enough. I don't know, but Chris Bright had to lift it for some reason down the front straightaway, but he's still in the draft. So maybe he just wanted to get in the draft to save gas. Maybe he needed to be able to make it to the end.
Topadol might have had a case of the jumpies in the chicane. No. Well, a little bit, but not quite leaping. More just kind of hopping a little bit.
That was like a skippy.
Yeah, skip. Well, do skippies
We got like
work?
3
We
levels
got the
of
Skip
this.
Barber F2000s. I don't think skippies work.
We got 3 levels to this disease. It goes skippies, hoppies, jumpies.
No prancies in the middle of that?
No prancies. We don't need too many categories.
What's the difference between the categories? Is it how high the tail end gets off the ground?
Yeah, exactly. How high are we bouncing? Now, if we see something different, like, if we start seeing them twist and turn in midair, then we've found a new strain, and we rename it the Twisties.
5 minutes to go. Well, Bright's been keeping pretty even here with Clank. Hasn't really been letting them get away much. May have been trying to hit that number. He may have found it. He would be able to use some of the draft here from Clank to save some extra fuel as well.
He definitely could be. Maybe just using the draft, saving some gas until we get to the last lap or two, and then trying to make a move back on the race leader. He's at least keeping himself within shouting distance. Punty Nader also in third is getting himself closer. He was 3.3 back. It's down to 2.4. And that was just a couple minutes ago. Down to 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Again, that 4:23. Cut that gap closer. Get into the slipstream of Chris Bright. As soon as he gets the slipstream, man, he's there. He could get there.
About 3 laps to go. This race for the lead is not done yet. Nor is the race for 8th. There's Michael Derby and Alex Crawford duke it out. Crawford does not look like he'll be successful in his last to first challenge, nor will Romano as he continues to try to hang on to a top 10. He just got around Ron Wolf for that 10th place spot, and now his next target's up the road. Going to be this trio fighting for 7th.
Yeah, Crawford looked like he was going to have an opportunity to win this race, but he was one of those guys that got the case of the hoppies, now running in the back half of the top 10. Just trying to pick up the scraps, not lose too many spots, but Chris Hannigan all over the back bumper trying to pick up the spot. The race leader! Oh, the race leader just about lost it. I mean, he was sideways over the same curb. But Alex Clank hanging on with 3 minutes to go. I'm telling you, he almost lost this race. It was almost over in a blink of an eye. And that's allowed Punty Nader to get closer. Chris Bright couldn't get by, and Punty Nader's cut that gap down to 1.3.
Clank, Bright, Nador, all within 1.2 seconds as they're coming up to take the penultimate lap. Bit of lap traffic up the road, but I don't expect that that'll play too much in how this race pans out. Kyle Smith having a bit of an issue here.
I love that paint scheme.
This is actually the lap car. They're getting set 2 lap, and that, well, he just hopped over the curb. I thought maybe he and Greg Beckman had problems, considering Beckman was shown to have crashed on the track, but it does say entered pit road right after. I wonder if perhaps he was out of fuel.
And did we see anybody in the top 3 run out of fuel, right? Chris Bright's been out there a little bit longer. Does he have the gas to make it? We thought he got off the gas to let Clank by, and he's just been sitting in the slipstream. Has he been saving gas? Can he make it to the end? And is he going to try to mount a challenge? As now he's got Punty Nader keeping him company right behind. It's a dangerous spot because you got to go on the defensive as much as you go on the offensive. And if you make a move, it doesn't stick, you're going to lose second instead of gaining first.
Driving through that first chicane for the penultimate time tonight. Next time by will be the white flag. Clank continuing to hang on. The top three now in a half a second. There's the look. Nador goes up to second. It's now a battle between the top two. And Nador, remember, was a top contender all throughout the sprint race until he intentionally took himself out of the race. He has fought his way up 42 spots, looking to go one more to go for his first win and his first ever start with the beer league.
That dive was absolutely freaking ridiculous that he just pulled on Chris Bright for second. I mean, way behind, coming down to the break-in zone, just did not care. Braked way later, threw it down to the inside, and threw it down to the corner. Barely made it, by the way, for the second part of the chicane. Just had a couple of pixels running over the red and white rumble curves. And now he's closing in on the race leader as we come up to take the white flag.
Final lap this time by. Nador looks to the left. Clank trying to defend, pushing him all the way to the pit wall, and now round the outside of one. Nador takes the race lead of the final lap.
Wow. What a power move from Bunty Nader. He was 3.5 seconds back about 5 minutes ago, and now he has just passed Alex Clank for the race lead on the last lap, entering turn one, and he's looking to pull away. Can Clank stay in that slipstream and make another move? We've seen how powerful the draft has been all night long. Nader pulled away immediately, but Clank has at least kept himself within that 0.3 of a second range. He could have a chance at the end of the lap with back-to-back straights.
Quarter of a second between them. No, Nader hops the curve. They both off the curve. They're both around. Here comes Bright. Bright fires through to take the race lead. Where did this come from?
Oh my word! Talk about a cinnamon toast crunch. That was insane. Chris Bright just inherits the race lead on absolutely nothing. He was fading back in third place, and the two race leaders both catch a case of the hoppies and take themselves out of contention. Chris Bright is going to take the win.
If it was going to go wrong, it was going to go wrong right there. Now Bright's just got to navigate one more corner. Nader closes the gap down to 1.5 seconds, but without a monumental mistake or an upset, this will go the way of the number 10. Coming around into the final chicane, Chris Bright off the final corner. Smooth sailing, and Bright will take it on a massive upset when the top two crash in the chicane.
I cannot believe what I've just seen. I cannot believe it. Nader ends up finishing second. Clank still in third, so they at least salvage, right? They hang on to the podium, but not what they expected on the night. What a finish to this one, Nolan. Holy cow.
That was unbelievable what we just saw there.
The most contagious disease on the planet just discovered tonight.
Take a look back.
Don't want to catch a case of those.
Yeah, no kidding. That was, that was actually, that was
Big
the
move.
incident that happened to initially cause Nader to take the second spot. And this is going to be how the
Insane.
top two end up falling apart and losing the lead. They both made the identical mistake. And frankly, it was the fact that they both made contact that prevented them from being even further down the field. Let's be honest here.
Chris Bright said, "Thank you very much, fellas. I will take that, and I will happily run to the bank with it." Now, to be fair, they have another 4 seconds on the fourth place car, so maybe they could have gotten it turned around in time. But if they do, get passed by fourth, they're getting passed by 2 or 3 more that are in that group. So it definitely could have saved them a little bit of time coming together like that. But either way, what a finish to this one, man. I mean, I told you in the pre-race, right, that whenever you put a car on a track that you kind of think would be a little weird, it ends up either being terrible or an absolute banger with a lot of chaos. This was absolutely the latter, and I'm thrilled about it. I mean, the whole way through the heat race and the main event, fantastic.
Several cars drifting across the line. Just wait now on the last few to come across, and I do believe we have gotten the last of those drivers across. So with that, and a very shock ending and a twist ending to this race, let's take a rundown of the race results this afternoon from Circuit Zolder. Chris Bright, in a shock turn of events, takes the win ahead of Nador and Alexander Klang. Ronneberg picks up 4th. Bueller was 5th, Tucker 6th, then it's Confident 7th, Derby at 8th, Romano in 9th, and Tyler Augustino closes out the top 10. Ron Wolf in 11th with Tyler Carlton in 12th, then it's Aaron Thacker 13th, John Combs at 14th, Castro at 15th, Kasich, Cameron, By, McClendon, and Barrett round out the top 20, Austin.
21st is Chris Hannigan, Michael Hopkins in 22nd, Jason Lee in 23rd, Matthew Dupuis in 24th, Todd Medol 25th, Justin Hall in 26th, Chris Flams, Adam Mailhot, Ryan Murphy, Barrett Morton round out the top 30. 31st is going to be Brooks Clayton, 32nd, Jordan Babcock, 33rd, Tyler Vietnan, 35th is Ben Williams, 34th is Ben Williams, 35th is Evan Campbell, 7 Purcell, Blake Gambrill, Carson Catlin, Ryan Verhulst, and Greg Beckman round out the top 40.
And that will just leave Ringo Harrison, Tanner Klein, Nita Conde, Kyle Smith, Keith Carruthers, Alex Albert, Josh Reed, and Adam Klein to close out the back end of the field here with this one. An extremely wild way to have a race go down this afternoon. And I know Chris Bryant is a very, very happy man as a result of that one. So we'll see if we can't track down the driver, the number 10 here, to give a bit of a chit-chat at the end of the night. And it is going to be none other than the number 10 himself that comes home with a wild final lap. Chris, it was looking like you were going to just be fighting it out for third, watching from the wings. All of a sudden, you're in the lead. You barely lifted to get it done. Talk through the last lap.
So I was pretty much hoping for a mistake, just kind of staying close enough in case something happened, and they both kind of caught the curb in that chicane, and I was able to take advantage of it and just be safe on the way home. You know, I picked a good strategy and was able to keep myself up front and got lucky.
Kind of talk us through your race in action tonight and how you found yourself out there on the top spot. You did lose quite a bit of that pace when you were being chased by Nador and Clank, and they seemed to find it again once you were in line.
Yeah, so I have a bad habit of when people are behind me driving in the mirrors, even though I've been up front a bunch, and I've learned to just let them go by and then, you know, draft up and race with them, and I can hang. So it was a better idea for me to let them by and then follow.
And, well, championship-wise, do you think this might be a season where you can try to make a run at the big title?
I'm quick in these cars, but it's definitely tough to be consistent, and there's anything that happened with how close the racing is and how good everyone in this league is. So it would be nice to fight for, but just going to hang in there and go for consistency and see where we end up.
I wish you the best of luck then when we go racing once again. Congratulations on an absolute barn burner this afternoon, and we will look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yes, thank you very much. First beer league win.
Chris Bright taking his first this afternoon, and it couldn't come in a much sweeter place than this. We'll move on down to Bunty Nador then Austin, making his first ever start and so close to his first win. He's standing by with you in the number 2 spot.
Yeah, so close to his first win, but a hell of a debut performance from qualifying to the heat race to the main event. Puntinator was up front just about the entire night. Man, for your first race, what'd you think of the beer league? Because it was a hectic one, to say the least.
Oh yeah, it was so much going on all the time. But that's what I really wanted to join at some point, so I can experience this madness. It was a lot of fun.
Well, Punty, you had a hell of a night the entire time also, running, like I said, towards the front the entire time. Towards the end of that race, swapping the lead back and forth, running down different leaders, and then on that last lap, coming through the chicane that we've seen so many people have an issue through. You go through there with the Clank, and you both hit that curb and go into the sky. What were you thinking in that moment?
I mean, I was thinking, why am I so stupid? And then I was thinking, oh man, I messed with Clank's race as well. But yeah, I mean, I kind of led him into that curb. He just followed me into his own death as well. But at least we spun each other around doing that and still finished on the podium. But yeah, it's obviously really annoying to mess that up on the final lap when the win looked so secure. Like when I passed Clank in the first turn, I was like, yeah, I'm good. This should be a win, and yeah, don't celebrate too early, kids.
Well, Punty, thank you for coming and taking some time and talking to us in the booth tonight. Congratulations on the second place finish. It was awesome to have you out on the racetrack, and you were putting on a great show out there. So appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Alrighty, that was your second place finisher, first time shower upper tonight, Punty Nader. Nolan, I don't think we have the third place finisher, do you?
Not from what I can see, no. So it looks like that might be it for this afternoon. But Austin, a wild one. The beer league so often is, but this race was a new level, and I am super excited to see what's going to be up for these guys next week. Of course, that's always the big question, right? Where are we racing? And we don't have a word on where we're going to be at next week. It does not look like they have rolled that spin yet, but we'll find out, no doubt, after we wrap things up here today. But, you know, race 3, we're still early in the championship, but these championships aren't long. They're only 9 races long, so you can't really afford to ever have an off week.
Well, we do have some drop weeks, right? So you can afford to have a couple off weeks.
Well, I mean, it kind of depends on how far back you want to be, though. I mean, let's be
I'm
honest.
sorry, I just had to play devil's advocate with you, but no, I agree with you. I mean, you got to be on your A game.
If you're dropping, if the worst race you're dropping is like, for example, a 7th place, and that's the worst result you're dropping,
Oh man, you've
had a pretty good season.
Yeah, you're probably winning the championship with those numbers. But no, I'm right there with you. You've got to be on your A game week in, week out, so that whenever a bad race does come along, it's just because of some random bad luck that you can't control. You've got to control what you can control, be on your A game all the time, and give yourself a chance at the end. And well, that's what Chris Bright did, right? He just gave himself a chance at the end. The 2 front runners make a mistake on the last lap. Chris Bright there to pick up the scraps.
It's all about, can you weather the storm under pressure? And that is still an ever-present question in the Speed Cup Series as well on Thursday nights. They're going to be back in full force less than 24 hours from now when they go racing for the 3rd of 5 races in the chase for the Cup at Homestead Miami Speedway. Austin and I will be back in the booth on Saturday night for the American Mini 75 at the Iowa Speedway for the longest and fastest track that the SRI Mini Stock Championship has to offer on its short schedule. And then, of course, it'll be the SRL Next Gen Cup Series, closing out the regular series season and setting things up for the playoffs, which will be taking place this coming Sunday at the Kansas Speedway at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. For us here at the Zolder Time Graph for one afternoon, if you want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. My name, as always, has been Nolan Rempel. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week when we go racing for more on the Beer League.